Sounds interesting. So are we ready? Am I going too live yet?
I'm live. I can see myself waving. Woohoo!
All right, do that. Hey everyone.
Hey, everybody. We're having a wet day today. Ah, something is blooming back there. Some tree is blooming back there.
I need to go clean the ivy off those trees again too.
Oh, they coming back? Carla says, hi, Siofra and Ian. How was your week? It's
Hello.
raining here too. Our week was pretty good, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a pretty good week. Ian is still working on the car, but
That's
he's
because of the
got it.
amount of rain. It
Yep.
makes it slow. We had to order stuff.
Yep. And had to get, another tool or something. But things are going along slowly but surely. Did a video on explaining the words for the amethyst crystal web. Made a shawl and finishing that up today. My first one of 7, I think, for all the family members. Um, Finished this, which I brought along to show. This was the magical fiber that the person wove for us for the crystal web, and I put amethyst on it. I don't know if you can see these guys or not, but there's I wired amethyst in all over the place, so it's covered with them. I'm now trying to figure out exactly where it wants to be, and it's now told me today it wants to be under the amethyst crystals because it's the ground. I tried putting it over top of the globe that we have of the earth, and it didn't like that. So I thought, okay, try to figure this stuff out. So Sophia says hi there. Hi, Sophia. Carla says, look how beautiful. I'm so excited. Yes. Teresa says, hi, Ian and Shifra. Ian, were you adjusting the color or is that my monitor?
Nope.
It
No, but
must,
the camera's a little sensitive to light changes and things, so it could be the sun as it comes in and out, making our camera shift too.
maybe.
It does adjust a bit, I've noticed.
Aaron says, hello. Hi, Aaron. Violet says, hi, Shifra and Ian. I've missed you the last 2 weeks. Yes, we missed you too. Carla says, they tell you, don't they? Yes, they do tell us. It was like, I'm like, now what? After I made this wonderful thing, it doesn't like it. Where I put it, where do I put it? It's like, yeah, it is. It's interesting anyway. But yes, I think we have figured out where it wants to go. Then I just have to take all of the crystals off, put it down, then figure out how to place them so that it's happy. So I have to incorporate it into the entire design. Maybe some of it needs to be on the outside of it, so it's just partially under there and it's flat. I don't know. We'll see. Teresa says a web would look nice in a window, maybe. Well, maybe it would, but it wasn't wanting above. It wants to be down below. So I don't think that's going to work. Pretty confident. It's now told me where it wants to be, and it wants to be flat, so it represents the ground and under the amethysts. So it's the decider, not me. What I think would be nice doesn't matter, because I thought putting it over the whole planet was a good idea, and theoretically it is, except it doesn't like it. So there.
I don't know. I think underneath instinctively feels right. So that may affect everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teresa says a carpet spider, not an orb weaver spider. Well, it's not a spider at all. It's just a web. So I don't think spiders are involved in this. We're just calling it a web because it's connected like that. But yeah, we don't need to justify it with a type of spider and how they build their webs because these are amethysts and they're rocks, and then they make an energetic web, but not a spider web. So yeah, but whatever works. And I want my crystals to be happy before we do our live Zoom, which is in what, 2 weeks? I have to look at the calendar and see exactly what day it is and figure out the timing and figure out what I have to put on top of my bed to raise my computer up so that people can see me and the altar and what we're doing and all this other stuff. And the video and the explanation will come out in a couple of days. And I've finished it. Ian is processing it. And we'll put that together. I'm going to make the Amethyst Crystal Web have its own list, complete a list of just stuff associated with that, so it'll be easier for people to find in the future. So they'll have their own video list. Carla says, I'm adding a piece of the tree I made the wand of representing my town. And if I make it to the ancient hemlock forest, a piece of hemlock predates the USA. Cool. I like that. Catch Manny says, I just picked up some new crystal bracelets, but I don't feel the energy from my rose quartz, but I'm absolutely loving this blue tiger eye. It definitely has me feeling that very grounding but confidence. Oh yeah, blue tiger eye is gorgeous, isn't it? I like how tiger eye comes in so many different color palettes. The red and the green and then the blue. And so congratulations and awesome. I think rose quartz is a very gentle energy. And so it's like, just sort of gently opens up the heart center and, you know, it's not in your face kind of crystal. I got a giant chunk of rose quartz that I picked up for, I think, $20 at the Goodwill or somewhere. It was either Goodwill or hospice. When I find big chunks of, you know, stones for sale there, I have to pick them up. I got that large snowflake obsidian in our living room that I picked up, similar price, $20. I think, can't remember if the rose quartz was as expensive as that or less, but anyway, yeah, I picked it up. And I like that, the rose quartz energy, because of its uh, gentle nature and stuff that it has. I had my Kundalini going off last night, and that was interesting because it was getting all the way up. It was going through my legs and into my spine and all the way up to the top of my head. So at one point, it was like everything at once, and it was certainly energetic and felt right. It was good. Beth says, Hi, everyone. Hi, Beth. So, yeah, we've had some fun. And we did the crystal class this week. Some people got to see it after the fact, and you can, if you decide you want to, send me an email to shifrasmagicalcove@gmail.com, and you can send me a donation, and then they can send you the link to watch the class. We actually went on for almost 2 hours and covered a lot of territory. It was lots of fun. I really enjoyed myself. And Catchmanny says, how do you work with a feather in your altar? Um, well, I have a magic feather, a crow feather, excuse me, a raven feather that I use, and that's not on my altar. That's in its own special container, and I use that for walking between the worlds because of its nature. But I have some peacock feathers on my altar. I just have them there because peacock is something that I have an affinity for, and their feathers and stuff like that. I have two goose feathers on my earth altar, and I picked them up and then later discovered that according to the Native American astrology chart, I am a goose. So I thought that was interesting that I picked up these goose feathers. They're interesting geese. They're different from other geese, not a species I'm familiar with. I kept trying to look them up. Their call is completely different. It's not the honk honk of, Canadian geese or domestic geese. It's a different kind of a sound altogether. It was very interesting. Um, but feathers are good for air, representing air. So you can, I have next to me, the crows often leave me feathers, and so I have like a little vase where I stick some of the feathers that they leave on my lawn and put in there. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them. I had feathers for a while on my staff, but my staff changed its mind at some point. But I had like 4 feathers, one for each of the major elements, and yeah, it was kind of interesting anyway. And we have feathers. Um, the I think it's the wing feather from the crow I use as a protection talisman for our vehicles. And so I take some red thread and I wrap the shaft and hang it from the mirror, and it protects us when we're driving. That's what it's for. I've given it to members of the family and stuff like that. So that's what I do with some random feathers anyway. Carla says, I wear a rose quartz and a black obsidian bead bracelet I made. Nice. Carla says, hi, Bethy. And I loved the class. Yes, Carla's one who watched it after the fact. And Beth says, hi, Carla. And Teresa says, I have an owl feather on my altar that I use for smudging. Yeah, I have a wing, a feather wing that I have for smudging that I bought in a store. Can't remember what bird it is, though. But Cash Manny says, thank you. Deeply appreciate you. You're welcome. We'd always love to come up with ideas and just throw them around. Yeah. I think feathers are a really good way to connect with the birds for sure, as far as I had when I went to a Native American uh, women of the 14th moon ritual, the medicine woman who was there gave me an orange feather. I think it was a flicker. I'm not sure. But she thought I needed it to ground me, and I actually had that for quite a while. And it certainly seemed to have an effect. I was still learning about how to ground at that point, starting the process of getting better at it. Carla says, I have a hawk feather I'll put on the battery that was given after a meditation. I have tons of feathers that pigeons have left me. I'm almost thinking of adding one on my wand. Yeah, you can certainly add them on wands. And I use the dove feathers uh, for the peace ball that we made. That's in the amethyst glass that I now have put on my altar with the amethyst crystal web. I've added a few items to it. I've added the earth ball, the brass ball that's embossed with the continents on top, and then underneath of it, I have the peace ball, and it fits there pretty well. And it's got lapis and amethysts and dove feathers on it to sort of add to the energy of peace. Because joy, peace, and tranquility are the 3 things that we're spreading with the amethyst crystal web. So Carlos says, I'm sitting here nodding in agreement like you can see me. Well, good. It's always good to have people nodding in agreement, even if you can't see them. Carla's laughing. So yeah, it's been fun doing crafts and stuff this week, working on the shawl, and I have 7 of them to make. So 1 down and 6 to go. 1 almost down. Of course, the first one I did was purple because purple's my favorite color. But we've got purple, gold, royal blue, teal, uh, dark green, sort of a bright Kelly green, um, cranberry or maroon, like a maroon red, um, and black. Those are the colors. So yeah, I'm making all the same shawl. So I don't have to try and figure out like a different pattern for everybody. It's like they're all going to get the same shawl, just a different color. That way I can make all my mistakes the first one. But hey, it's like sometimes it's nice to make personal gifts for people. So all these various women in my life are going to get a shawl. Cats, man. Oh, Teresa says a couple years ago a squirrel terrorized magpies in my yard. It killed the male and a couple of the babies. So sad. The spirit of the bird gifted me his feathers. They knew I loved them. Yeah, sometimes that happens, nature being the way it is. Catch Manny says, I sage myself daily right when I wake up, especially when I meditate with my altar. I don't know if I'm overthinking it, but I definitely feel the difference in energy in me and around me. Well, if you're feeling a difference, then you're not overthinking it, in my opinion, because that's the whole point, right? Make yourself feel better. And it's like that's what this is all about, to be able to modify and control your emotional environment as using your magic knowledge and abilities and so forth, and bring nice things into your space to help you feel better. That's what I think anyway. So finding out what works, that's the trick. Carla says, "Ah, Teresa, yes." Teresa says, "Yes, Carla, those damn squirrels, but I love them too." Or darned squirrels. Um, yeah, my sister has had a local fox take out some of her ducks, and her neighbors and friends are like, "Why don't you just go kill the fox?" And she says, "Why?" It's just doing what comes natural. It's has just as much a right to be here as my ducks. So, it's just the way nature works, and she would never consider getting rid of a fox, which I'm glad of. My sister has very strong opinions about that, and I agree with them. So, yay. Sophia says, I wanted to ask about house cleansing and selling from your video of protection. How to do that when my house has 3 levels? Well, so it makes it a little more complicated, but I've done multi-leveled houses. You still start at the front door. And what I would do, let's see, I would plan it out because you're going to want to do all of the third level before you do all of the second level, but you're going to want to do part of the first level before you get up to the second level, because you got to have all that thing at the front door. So you start at the front door. For the banishing part, you would do the same thing in the opposite direction for the sealing part. But for the cleansing and banishing, you would go counterclockwise. You can do it like through the level, but not let it out, and then go up the stairs and do a level, and then another level up above, and then bring your way all the way back down. But I'm thinking do part of the level on the bottom to get to the entrance to the second level, and then part of that level to get to the entrance to the third level, and then do all of the third level and come back down the way you went in and finish all of the second level back to where you came in, and then go and finish the first level and then let it out the door. That's kind of what I would think. But I think it could work. Um, the trick is you have to start and end with your door. So however you want to figure that out. Um, and really pay attention, because when you're doing multiple rooms, especially if the negative energy is, like if it's heavy, uh, built up from like violent actions or something like that, yelling, past kind of events that the air has kind of like collected and held on to, um, then you really have to check in when you're doing a single room, because like you walk into a room to do that room, and then you go out the door you came in. But I found in one of the houses I did here locally, there had been so many bad people that had lived in the house, the negative energy kept turning me around and I kept going the wrong way and I'd have to start over. So I learned to really focus and concentrate on what I was doing and really pay attention to the pushing out and the releasing of the negative energy as I went around the house. Um, So that's my thinking on it. But whatever works to get everybody out. That's the trick. So Teresa says, Sophie, and if the spirits trick you and cause you to be going in the wrong direction, you'll have to do it all over. Owl 13 says, hello. Hi, Grateful Owl, who's now Owl 13. Catch Manny says, I sometimes use the ashes from the Palo Santos to paint my face with and continue with affirmations after I clean my house from sage. You can also fill your house and go the opposite direction with positive energy, like using sweet grass or sweet incense or something like that, or putting something on the stove that makes the whole house smell good. Food item like apples and cinnamon or baking bread or, something like that. Some smell that you have real positive associations to, or you can walk something like that around in a pot if you have like a nice flower essences or something like that that you want to put in some steam and some water and walk that around the house to let the fragrance fill all the nooks and crannies and stuff like that to settle in the positive energy after you've gotten rid of the negative energy, because that's like probably the one of the biggest things people forget when they're saging their house. To get rid of the negative energy, they don't then do something different to fill it with positive energy. So, so that's some ideas. Carla says, do you guys ever use a sage spray as opposed to a smudge stick? I only ask because I use either or interchangeable. Yeah, I made some. And that's helpful for like hospital rooms and things like that. If you're going to visit a loved one in a hospital room and you want to get rid of the negative energy, they do not allow you to burn things in a hospital. And some people are allergic to smoke and have breathing difficulties, and you don't want to overwhelm somebody's lungs and have an asthma attack. So you're doing a circle and you plan on using and burning something, you need to find that out from the participants to make sure that you're not accidentally killing somebody or putting them in a health crisis and need to call an ambulance for them. It really disrupts the whole process and really interferes with the flow. But yeah, you can certainly use a spray. I made my own spray, just putting it in alcohol. I picked the leaves from my garden. I have my own sage plants, and just put them in a bottle until it colored it pretty well, and it you spray it. Ian's used it a couple of times and he likes the smell it makes. It's quite pleasant. Sophia says, I have a basement with a door. Maybe it can work to do it separately. Yeah, maybe. Teresa, I know that happened to me once. Carla says, ooh, I use ashes for black salt. Catch Manny says, you truly are a blessing to this world. Thank you. You're welcome.
Yes,
Sunshine hands. Carla says, me too. And Beth says, owl hearts. Sophia says, so to banish the unwanted counterclockwise and to seal it is clockwise? Yes. Unless you are in a different part of the world and you do the opposite on a regular basis. Like some people in the southern hemisphere switch everything up, and clockwise does the same thing for them that counterclockwise does for us, and vice versa. But I think that really depends upon your mindset, because you got to remember you're working with your own brain. And so if in your brain, even if you're in the southern hemisphere, if you've been doing it one way versus the other, you stick with the way that has worked for you. Otherwise, you have to kind of undo the whole thing. And I found that to be the case. I was at one of the weekends, one of the medicine wheel weekends, and I think the very first one actually, and we were maybe the second one. We were doing a healing circle for one of the medicine men because he had been helping a lot of people and we wanted to give him energy. And we started off a large group of people. There's probably about 40 or 50 of us. And we were all dancing around clockwise and raising energy. And this one moron in the circle raised his hand and said, hey, how come we don't do it the other way? Because other people do it the other way. I was just in India or somewhere at this big festival and they went counterclockwise. They didn't go clockwise to raise energy, and the leader was too polite. Instead of telling him this is the way we're doing it, she decided to give all of us a lesson, and so we went in the other direction to do it. And I really noticed, as someone who can feel the energy, that we had to undo as many times in the opposite direction until we got back to neutral, and then we could start building energy up again. So it really can
Yeah,
have an
but
effect.
I agree though. And there's what people don't realize a lot of times is there's a thing about repetition where the amount of times you repeat something, it's related Kabbalistically to the number 463 for like 463 repetitions. But basically, the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and almost the effect becomes almost automatic if you do it enough. But then if you were to start reversing it again, you have to start building all that up. So yeah, to suddenly change what you're doing in the middle is basically, in a lot of cases, especially if you're like reversing it, then you're just throwing away all that previous effort that you put out there and you have to start over from the beginning.
Yep.
And that's, it's a good observation. It's important that people should realize that, choose the best way
For
they
them.
know, and then start and then repeat it enough that
Right.
works. Yeah.
Stay with it. And Carla says, I use grain alcohol and essential oils. Yeah, that can work too. Al says, I feel like a kid saying it, but it's my birthday today. Happy
Happy
birthday!
birthday.
Carla says, I don't know if this is helpful for anyone, but whether I use smoke or spray, I make a pentacle with a counterclockwise circle to remove anything unwanted, and then the pentacle with a clockwise circle to replace. Yeah, I do that too. In fact, you can use an evoking um, pentagram to cleanse something without banishing all of its properties. Depends on how you use banishing pentagrams, because that can be kind of an interesting discussion in and of itself.
Yeah, I personally have my own way of doing it where when I'm cleansing things, I like to actually use an invoking pentagram and pull it in and through whatever I'm cleansing or through me to cleanse it that way. And I think it's just a personal preference. Most people use the pentagrams the opposite way. They use a banishing pentagram to
But
banish
you
all the
know us, we
impurities
were
from it.
thinking
Yeah.
about, what are you banishing? It's like, are you banishing the metal of the atom or the wood, or, so, what works? That's the important thing. Beth says, happy birthday, Owl. Carla says, happy birthday, Grateful Owl. Teresa says, happy birthday, Owl 13. Teresa says, how old or young are you? Carla says, like your breath, like your breath.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not sure what you mean by that. Still illuminate me. When you pull through you, Ian. Oh, like your
Oh,
breath.
yeah. Since I do my stuff kind of based on Barden's stuff, so you use your I use my willpower and the pentagram, so you get used to using the invoking pentagram as such to invoke it, and then you pull it through you with willpower. Now, I do use the pour breathing a lot and breathe things in and out, and you can pour breathe since you're doing it. It's astral, it's not physically. You can pour breathe in the water element or the fire element also in the air. So, yeah, but part of it is related to the fact that I am so familiar with the banishing ritual of the pentagram, and I've used it for years, invoking and banishing. That when you get good at it, you can do it with just your willpower. Basically, you do the pentagram with the element, and then through your willpower, you pull that through you to cleanse you. So, yeah, breathing is involved, but I directly, I only when I'm doing that particular banishing, I only associate that breathing with the air, so I bring that through me. With the fire, I bring it through me directly, and so forth. Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about there, actually.
Yeah, I
But
often use the banishing pentagram to release the elements after I've called them in. That's sort of like to let them go so they don't have to stay in place. So yeah, there's a
right,
lot
and
of
that's
a
that's
do- lot
that's
of different uses.
yeah, that's my interpretation also of how to use the banishing pentagram. I just want to point out that this may not be the standard for Western magicians. We use them a little bit differently depending on our own individual understandings of the elements and Barden stuff, which is in addition to the Western understanding, but also a real a better understanding of the elements. A lot of the Western stuff tends to diss them as low magic, and I find that, especially after learning Barton stuff, that that's totally inappropriate. They're not low magic at all.
So Dumbfrog says, I'm looking into different forms of magic. I'm mainly a divination witch, which would the Toth Tarot be good for me?
Well, it's good for me. I'm pretty familiar with that one. It's the only tarot deck I can get to work right, but it takes me hours and a lot of work, so I seldom use tarot for divination. But I found it works great, and I think one part of the reason was Crowley's when he designed that deck that Lady Frida Harris painted out and did all that wonderful artwork for that. He insisted that she include all the proper relevant symbolism. So all of his symbolism in that deck is very appropriate to the universe and stuff that's been used for years in the past, and all those connections make it for me a very good deck to use.
Alice says, thank you. I'm 2 years over the hill. I don't know what that means. What is the number for over the hill? It seems to shift depending on where we're at. Carla says, thank you, Ian. And I love that you guys put your own creativity into it. Same here. Toth pulls no punches. So Carla's familiar with it as well. It's a beautiful deck as well. Alice says 42. So 40 is over the hill for you. Considering I'm 75, I guess that would put me 35 years over the hill, over your hill.
You're just approaching the top of the hill at this point.
I think so, yeah.
I expect you to live to at least 150.
Oh, well, that would be interesting. They probably would cut off my Social Security, though, the way they're talking. No one could live that long. Did you hear that they stopped a 107-year-old woman at the airport because they did not believe her ID?
No,
They argued with her about her age. It's like, no one ever knew how old I was throughout my entire life. It's just sort of the way it was. When I was old enough to drink, everyone thought I wasn't, and they all wanted to see my ID, and no one believed it was real. It's just, yeah.
I was just the opposite. I started going to bars about 15 years old, never got carded for ID because at that point I had a big beard,
Yep.
a big full beard.
That's why people think we're like the same age. I'm younger for my age, and you're about your age, so it works. At least now. You used to be older for your age. But yes. Dumb Frog says, Teresa says, lately I've been having good results with observing pictures in bay leaves as they burn. I got some clear messages. Cool. Carla says, seriously, I'm going to read that later. Teresa, that's great, says Beth. What was it? I had something in my head. Oh, okay. So my staff wanted to go for a walk. It started to get very insistent about going for a walk. And so I called up my son and daughter-in-law and arranged to go to a local park to go for a walk. So I went for a walk with my staff in public, and I had several people who could tell that I was walking with a staff. And I ended up meeting someone who moved into town in the last couple of months and is one of us. And she recognized the staff. And when I sat down towards the end of the walk because my ankle was feeling kind of funky, she came up and started talking to me. So it was kind of interesting that apparently, I don't know how many of you guys know this or not. Some of you do, some of you might not. But when I was younger, I made myself invisible. I got very annoyed. I was in Toronto. I was in my early 20s. And everybody was looking at me, everybody on the street, everybody in cars, everybody sitting in a restaurant. All eyes were on me, and it was very annoying. I didn't like it. And so I did something, and I don't even know what I did to make myself invisible so they would stop, and they all looked away at the same time. So it worked. So when you do something like that, especially when you don't know how you did it, it's not easy to undo. And I started undoing this about 12 years ago, I think. I started trying to take down my invisibility, whatever the heck that was, to slowly become more visible. And going for a walk in the park with my staff was definitely a step in that direction because it made people notice me. But I'm in a place where I'm okay with that, slowly coming back out of, I guess, the invisibility thing. Starting this channel was part of that process too, sharing what I know and who I am. And so not being as invisible as I was in the past. So it's kind of interesting. So there was that. Teresa says it was a staff meeting. Jen says, hello, happy Sunday. Um, Carla says, oh, seriously, I'm going to read that later about the lady being hassled about her age. Yeah, that was just ridiculous. And Beth says that that's great to Teresa, seeing the bay leaves. And Jen says, hi, Beth. And Carla says, Teresa, staff meeting, haha. Hal says, they joke around up here in Canada with 40 being the age where you're over the hill. Ah, so you are in Canada, I assume then. And what province are you from? Because Teresa is also from Canada.
Well, if I'm over the hill, then I guess I must be picking up speed.
I like that. It's getting faster as you go downhill.
That's right.
Alberta. Ah, well, welcome, Alberta. And I think Teresa is in Manitoba. So we have a couple of different time zones. I lived in both British Columbia and Saskatchewan, so in between the two of you at one point, and on the other side as far as it went. But I have been to Ontario, obviously, because that was where I was actually in Toronto when that invisibility thing came over me. I decided to like stop letting people see me because they were annoying me greatly. It was funny. It was just poof. Alice says, yes, I remember. Ah, me, I don't always remember where everybody is from, but I try. We have some people that come here from New Zealand, just like tomorrow. Tomorrow morning. New Zealand is on tomorrow morning. They're ahead of us, time traveling. That's what they're doing. Bunch of time traveling people that live in New Zealand.
Okay. No, I'm not gonna say it.
Okay, don't.
Sorry. Yeah. Some things you shouldn't say on air.
Some things you shouldn't say at all.
Yeah.
Beth says, Jen, kiss, kiss. Hello, Beth. Yes. And Beth says, hello back. Kiss, Jen. So yeah, it's interesting. It's been actually a fun week in a lot of ways. Carla says, they're going to love me around here when my staff and I go for a walk. We have a woman in our community that goes and wears her cape and has a staff. So they're not unfamiliar with it. But I think that, some of our people are despairing and they need to see someone who isn't in the throes of despair all the time. Sophia says, I wish it was possible time traveling. Well, it's possible, but not physically. Remembering past lives is sort of a form of time traveling. Aquarian says, that story connects with me, Siofra. I cast a glamour like that as a kid. Everything you say connects like nothing else. Thank you for sharing. Oh, awesome. It's like, yeah, childhood. It was kind of sad when I met the woman in the park because she is terminal and she is not wanting to come back. So, but she has a daughter who she wants to learn, or, she's worried, like I was worried, that we were going to lose all this knowledge and information and experience and stuff like that, which was one of my main reasons for starting the channel in the first place. So people would have access to some of us that have more experience. And so she wanted my information for her daughter. I said, sure, absolutely, no problem. Beth says, we've been putting mulch all around our flower beds. This year I chose red and the Fae absolutely love it. Oh, cool. The mulch, so like red mulch, like cedar. Cedar's often red, isn't it?
Well, the wood is a reddish color, yes.
Yeah.
I'm sibilant today.
You're making sounds. Yes, Beth says.
Sibilance.
It's cedar. Cedar's a nice wood. I like cedar.
Smells nice.
Yes. And the fronds make good steam for helping death energy to leave a place. It's a good cleansing thing. You can actually put it in a smudge too, as well as a uh, whatever. What are those things? The aspergus? No,
And a spurger.
an asperger.
But that's not, an asperger is the what you sprinkle the
Sprinkle.
water on
Yeah,
people with. Yeah.
you use cedar in an asperger.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah,
Sorry.
Ian made an asperger once that was so good. It had all these different plants in it, and it got us very wet.
It captured all the water and like sprinkled.
We were getting a mini bath on our way into the circle.
It was excessive. So I told people I had Asperger syndrome. Sorry. No, I hope nobody's offended by that.
Well, that's we don't, they don't say it that way, and that
I
is
know,
a
but
term we're
it,
trying not to use for that purpose because of it. Yeah. Carla says sometime, or Teresa says, dreaming of spring here with snow still on the ground. I'm going to get 5 yards of topsoil delivered and build a couple more raised beds. Awesome. Carla says, sometimes it feels the fae show up as robins for me. I can't explain it. Well, I mean, they come with the animals. I mean, there's fae in charge of everything there is. That's anything alive, plants and animals and so forth. There are fae attached to what they're doing and their processes and so forth. So, it would make sense to me, especially when the robins come. It's usually the first sign of spring, as it were, and then everybody's going to start to get busy, like, making things bloom and whatnot. Aquarian says, I'm not sure what kind of a face that is. That says, Teresa, oh, wonderful. So, we didn't get anything of the solar eclipse here, the partial, but I saw some pictures of it here and there. So that was kind of interesting. That was almost exactly a year from the total solar eclipse from last year. Close to it. It was April 4th, I think, or 5th, somewhere in there was when the eclipse was. I have to look at my calendar. Carla says, that explains it. Thank you, Shifra. Beth says, I'm compulsive about pulling out every rootlet I see. Ah, yes, we have the wild onions. Well, they're not wild, they're everywhere. But they take over.
They're wild because we don't want them there.
Yeah, they take over, and we don't eat that many onions, um, for sure. And they make a nice flower, but yeah, and you mow them, and your whole yard makes your eyes burn and start to cry because of all the
And it smells like
onion
onions
juice.
for 3 or 4 days. Mowing those suckers down sucks. I need to find a good chemical way to get rid of them that doesn't kill off our lawn. They're growing in the lawn and the flower garden. They're really annoying.
Yeah, in the flower garden, I can sort of dig them up, but I always miss a few, and then they spread more. It's annoying. Carla says, I didn't get to see it either due to clouds. Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't visible it was only a partial in the United States or North America. So, yeah, I'm not sure where totality was. I didn't look into it because it wasn't going to be here. But happy new moon. And that was one of the reasons why I worked on this yesterday, because it was the new moon. And I thought that was a good time to, get it started. As the moon increases in energy, it'll increase in its effectiveness and energize itself. So it'll be ready for the full moon when we charge up the batteries. But I definitely have been noticing how much it's helped me to access that, um, and keep my sense of humor and stability and hope alive in these times. Teresa says, research what plant chokes out onions, maybe clover. These are, I don't think that would work. Not for
Well,
these guys,
if there
but
is something,
we'll
there might
research
be
it.
something that chokes them out. I hadn't thought about that. I was thinking about trying to get rid of them, but yeah. Well, actually, we should probably check that, or
Well, we can check and see.
yeah, maybe there's a hostile bug that only eats onions.
They're usually planted
Yeah,
to repel bugs,
and
so
that was my thought. So
yeah,
that
so
seems
I'm not
unlikely.
sure
Yeah.
that that would. Carla says that brought back a core childhood memory. The smell of the wild onion after the grass was cut. Ha! Well, good. I'm glad we could help with that. Clover was something I really liked as a kid. I had a field of red clover that saved my life one day when I was a kid. I went out to try to eliminate myself from the planet by eating every plant I could find because my mother told me that I shouldn't eat plants because they could be poisonous and they could kill me. So I was on a mission. And then the fairies dragged me to a field of red clover in bloom, and they are very tasty. The little honey thing on the end of pulling out the little pull things and sucking on the bottom of them, and I ate the clover after I sucked out the honey because it still was it seemed like a good idea. So I spent the rest of the day in a field of clover. So SL says, hi, Shifra and Ian and everyone. Hi, SL.
Hello.
Welcome. So, yeah, gardening is on our minds and plants. The bunny's been funny this week. He's been rearranging his space. This morning, he decided to move two of his cardboard pieces, and he has some plastic cups that I picked up for him because bunnies like to pick up cups and throw them around, and he's stacking them in different places and putting them around, and he's like arranging his space to his liking, which is actually quite entertaining to watch, to see him like putting things. He's got some stuffed animals and he's moved them around and
He'll
put them in
He's
place.
like got these little plastic cups we gave him to play with, and he picked one up and stacked it on top of a thing and made a little tower for a while.
And then he
So I
moved it
decided to
in
move it.
between. He decided he liked it between the two pieces of cardboard better, so he moved it there. And yes.
He makes himself little spaces to lay, and he builds up walls around them of different little things.
Yep.
Pretty cute.
Carla says, I watched some good comedians too. Trey Crowder, Andy Borowitz, Josh, I can't remember his last name, a young writer from The Daily Show. I like watching The Daily Show and Stephen Colbert, and every so often I'll watch something on YouTube. I was watching, oh, what's her name? Oh, I'll have to look her name up. I can see her face, but I can't think of her name. I watched a couple of her specials lately. Her mother is hysterical, and her wife is pretty funny too. She's, I rather enjoyed some of her imagery and stuff. Teresa says, I wonder if your bunny could figure out how to put the correct shapes into the little kids' toy openings. Some people do that with their rabbits. I don't know that he's interested in that. We got him
He
some,
doesn't seem interested in puzzles in
yeah.
particular.
We got him a puzzle. He took one piece out, and that was it. He was bored. It was like it's still sitting there, waiting for him to take it apart, and he just, yeah. Everybody's different. SL says Ellen DeGeneres. No, no, this is a younger comedian. I would remember her name. Um, she wears large suits, pink sometimes, pretty often. Um, her partner's name is Jax, if that helps. I just watched her. Anyway, if you remember her name, let me know. I'll watch too. And she's on Netflix. I watched, she had a 2024 special I watched, and then I watched the 2022 one. And that was the one where she talked about going to Big Sur to do this whole thing to ask her her wife to marry her at the time and how badly that went. She's a great storyteller. Those are the kind of comedians I like. I like comedians that talk about their own lives and things, um, and aren't there to just either just do political stuff or just to make fun of groups of people and see what they can get away with and talk about it being comedy and everybody's just like too easily offended. I had one guy I was listening to and I turned him off because I thought, no, I don't need to listen to this. This is stupid. So, but yeah, you know, it's good to find things to laugh at. Laughter is good medicine. It really releases a lot of great hormones and chemicals and stuff in your body, and they have discovered how laughter can help when you're going through like a bad illness, like cancer treatments and stuff like that, and how much that can improve your odds of surviving is getting laughter going and keeping a sense of humor. Aquarian says, my practice has been a lot of learning and subtle action, but I have never done a formal ceremony. I can connect with elements and other things like dragons in the sky that make weather. Yeah, me too. I've seen a couple of them from an airplane. Carla says, same, intelligent comedy. Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of male comedians that I love. They don't do that many specials though, so I run out of things of theirs to watch. But I am sort of nervous and want to begin. Do you have any advice on here to begin, or is it necessary? Well, ritual can be helpful in that it formalizes what you're trying to do. And so it can help to create more pathways, magical pathways in your body and your brain and so forth when you're doing a ritual. But you can start off fairly simple. You can just say, draw a circle and call in the elements and just do that for a period of time and not necessarily have a goal that, you're trying to perform a ritual to do something. Ritual doesn't have to be goal oriented. Ritual just basically means repetition. Um,
Yeah, and that's the advantage because the more you repeat something, the easier it becomes. As it gets engraved in the universe more or less, so it's
right. And
easier and
since
easier and
and since
requires
you
less
have
work.
you're fine with connecting with the elements and so forth, you could learn different ways or more complete ways to connect with the elements. Like I have a video on the pentagram and the tatwas, which are about ways to use symbolism to connect with the elements and so forth, and you might find that very interesting. And certainly, even though I've been doing this for a long time, when I started to do the specific evoking and banishing pentagrams of each element, I found that there was a lot of stuff going on. And I also started exploring with the pentagram the different layers and levels of the elements. So, not just the physical part of it when I'm casting a circle, but also the astral part, the mental part. And started to learn about the different properties of the elements from the different planes and how they change and shift depending on what plane you're on, and how you're interacting with them changes and what they can do changes. Um, so yeah, it's so you don't have to be elaborate. You can start off just trying to practice the evoking and invoking pentagrams of air, earth, fire, water. The spirit one that they have drawn out never made sense to me. The other ones make perfect sense to me, and I understand the mechanism in there, but the ones they have for spirit doesn't. So I just do a basic going up towards the spirit point and going around to make you know the invoking one, and then when I'm done, going down from the spirit point and going back around and releasing it, if I do that at all, because spirit is everywhere and I don't know that it necessarily needs to be released anyway. So, but maybe you would find out something different. And with the tarot and stuff like that, it can really increase your ability to work with the tarot too, I think. Carla says, I loved Carlin, older Carlin. Young Carlin was kind of that slapsticky, dippy stuff. Beth says, I know, Sophia, just because we're sensitive doesn't mean we don't like a good laugh. This is true. Teresa says, I often just light a candle on my altar and try to connect with the goddess. It centers me and I find it quite spiritual. SL says, my practice is just shadow work and connecting with nature right now. I recommend Mitch Hedgeberg, he's funny without politics or insults. As a comedian, I'm assuming. I like Mike Birbiglia. He's one of the ones that I like a lot. And the other guy whose name is escaping me again at the moment. Oh well. Anyway, yeah. Nate Ber, Ber, Bergatsky or Bergatz or something. I like his stuff too. He's very unassuming and self-deprecating and hilarious, and does some great storytelling and whatnot. And yeah, oh yeah, he's awesome. SL says, yeah, and those are the my current favorites. It's yeah. Anyway, we like humor in shows.
Yep.
That's one of the things that we really. Carlos says, I recognize Nate's name. He comes up on my reels. Yeah. And Teresa says, I like listening to the debaters on the CBC radio. Very funny. I used to do a lot of radio listening when I lived up in British Columbia when we had no TV or anything. It was funny. They had a series on called um, The Fifth Tower of Inverness was the name of the series. It was a radio play kind of thing. And it was like a serial kind of thing. They did like an episode a week. And I listen to it every week, and it's mystical and magical and funny and mysterious and all this other stuff, and hysterical. I thought in a lot of places, very tongue in cheek in some spots. And Ian and I got us a place to go stay that had tree houses and cabins in Oregon one year. I found this place online, and so I rented it for the week or whatever. And we go into the cabin, and they have these tapes, and one of them was the radio show, The Fifth Tower of Inverness, which I couldn't believe. I could actually hear it again. So Ian got to hear the show too. And so
Yep.
we listened to it while we were there, and it was a very synchronistic um, series of coincidences there. And that was where we saw a magic fog. We were walking around one after in the evening one night, and all of a sudden this fog just appeared out of nowhere, just like bam, it was there, and we're like, "Are you seeing this fog?" It's like, "Yeah," and it had this eerie feeling to it, like we were between the worlds, and so that was kind
Yeah,
of
it was
cool.
pretty cool.
That was pretty cool, and then it was poof gone.
It just hung around near our feet. It was like pretty awesome.
It was an awesome fog. It's like, wow, all right, are we going somewhere? But no, we ended up going back to our cabin. That says, I love talk radio. Yeah, it was certainly one of the only ways we could hear anything. I listened to a lot of different radio plays. There was one on the Siamese twins, the two brothers that they did. That was one of the productions we listened to. I think they did that in one setting up when I lived up there. It was kind of intense, actually, what it was like to be a Siamese twin and trying to come up with ways to have privacy when the person you're attached to can't go anywhere, and they have to pretend that they're not there so that you can interact with like your wife. It was kind of interesting. Carla says, do you remember Sue Johansson, Schieffer? I think she was from BC and had a public station show. I think she was a doctor. We used to love her and watched her every week. Nope, not remembering that. Aquarian says, that is helpful, thank you. I find I don't really have a need to cast spells or use magic for specific reasons other than trying to connect with things or help when it is okay. Thine belief says fog is. Okay. Um, yeah, so yeah, good. Because, I don't do the rituals that we tend to do right now. The main one we're doing is the crystal web, the amethyst crystal web project. And certainly, if you wanted to do a ritual for a purpose, that would be a good one to join because we have it. they have the videos online already, and you can do it any full moon, and you can, charge up amethysts to the purpose of trying to imbue all amethysts on the planet with joy, peace, and tranquility in order to help us survive what we're going through right now with all the weird things that are happening around the planet, and to maybe help in the future for when things need to have energy to, rebuild or assist or whatever, but to keep us sane. So if you were going to do a ritual for a purpose, that would be the one. That's the only one that I really do at the moment. Um, yeah, and ritual can have a lot of reasons. And that one is a healing, trying to heal, spread that kind of healing energy throughout, and using the crystals as the touchstones in order to send that energy. And we started it like 7 years ago, so we've been working on it for a while, and it's more people are joining it all the time, and it's getting stronger and stronger every month at this point. So it's kind of interesting. And I have a new video about it coming up, um, and it's an explanation of the words and the visualizations. Sophia says, do I need to plan it with you first? Um, I'm not sure. Plan what with me? Did I miss a comment? What do you want? You don't have to plan with the crystal web thing. You can do that on your own. And we're going to try our first like public Zoom this full moon from my bedroom where I have all of my amethyst crystals that started this project and have been added to. The amethyst thing. Yeah. I think she means the crystal web project. Yes. Yes, you don't. You don't need to have a plan with me first. Anybody can join any full moon. And really, all you need are, you don't have to have an expensive amethyst. We make an amethyst battery, is what we call it. So you're going to have at least one amethyst that you use that you don't take away or use it for anything else except to connect to the other amethysts that are in the web. And then you can charge up jewelry. This piece here is one of the pieces that I've been charging up on my altar during the full moon and stuff. And I have other amethyst jewelry that I charge up and wear because I've really started to feel the need to be more present in the crystal web throughout the day, not just once a month. It's gotten strong enough that I can feel it. So this is good. Um, and then you can do jewelry so that you can wear it, or you can do smaller points that you can then connect to the project, like with ribbon or whatever, and then take it and put it somewhere in your community. You can bury it in the ground at your local courthouse, or wherever you think it might be needed. You can give it to friends. You can hang it in your car to sort of bring the energy with you when you go. We have one of them hung in our car along with the crow feather, to just try and keep the calmness happening while we're driving, because who needs to have road rage, right? Not us. We don't want that. Um, so yeah, you watch the video and figure out what you need, and it doesn't have to be, like I said, it doesn't have to be expensive or anything. One of my friends just discovered she has an amethyst chip necklace, and I realized I might have one too that I haven't been using. Because at one point I was buying all kinds of, like, chip necklaces. Like I got a lapis and a carnelian and a tiger eye. I might have an amethyst. I'm sure I bought an amethyst at some point. It's just, yeah. And so you can use that. You can have smaller chips even. We used it to help with the power spot in Krakow when we helped to clear that space out. The woman who wanted to get assistance with that put the amethyst around in the ground around the spot, and we connected to it consciously. But usually we're just charging up the web in general, not doing something specific, but we can also do specific things. So, yeah. Teresa says, I'm looking forward to that Zoom. Are you also planning any other Zoom classes? Well, I'm sure I will. And I have to figure out exactly when I'm going to do them and what subject I've been thinking about. Uh, I've been thinking about something lately. I thought it might be a good class to do on psychic self-defense or on decorating for self-defense that other people might not notice, but things that you can make that other people might not go, oh, look, there's a witch. And then some that they might. I mean, I don't know. But that's an idea. And Sophia says, thank you. Carla says, oh my goodness, I'm doing that for the hubs. He's always griping behind the wheel. And Teresa says, what about burying amethyst in a big circle around my house? Sure. Why not? You can do that. Blue Moonstone says, hey, Schieffer, love your amethyst idea. I have an amethyst altar in my Reiki room where I charge my magical jewelry too. Can't wait to join in on the next full moon. Awesome. All I can say is the more the merrier when it comes to this, because this is like a grassroots or underground project. SL says, ooh, psychic self-defense sounds awesome. Yeah, so that might be a good one because I know a lot of people struggle with that and certainly other things. We could also do a beginning ritual kind of a thing for actual newbies who want to learn about how to do it and what to do or get ideas. I mean, there's lots of different ideas, but I'm definitely going to be doing more classes. I just can't do them every week. I need breaks in between. But you can join the other classes. We also have another class that you can make a donation to watch is the paranormal class. We did a class on paranormal stuff, and we've done one on working with crystals so far. Those are the two classes that we have taped that people can we can share. We had another one, but the taping didn't work. Carla says, I put chips on all the corners of my apartment complex. Awesome. Yeah, I just like the idea of being able to do that. It's just very useful. So, can you do a class on casting a circle and other common rituals like that? Yes, I can. That's another class we can do. Um, and I know that there were some people that were curious about that. People who really know how to do it might not be interested, but then that's not why we would be doing it, if not for them, right? Oh, I'm going to check those out when we can access those classes, Shifra. Well, okay, where can you access them? Send me an email at shifrasmagicalcove@gmail.com. And I can send you the link to the class and you make a donation to my PayPal account for watching the class. That way you don't have to be there for the class, but still get the benefit of all the things, all the subject matter and what came up, what we talked about, and so forth. And I've had a number of people who've watched it and really enjoyed the class experience after the fact. So I thought that would be a good way for our community to share the information. Carla says they're doing double duty, warding unwanted and raising the vibe. Yes, as far as the amethysts go. Ooh, I will email you. Okay, I look forward to that. Yeah, so yeah, it's just trying to expand how we can reach people, but not go crazy overboard. We want our people to watch it. I did get an interesting message this week, which I thought was rather humorous. Someone wrote in on the spirits and pacts, making pacts with spirits video that I did, and they said that they had made a pact with Lucifer, and a witch told them that they could undo it without their permission, and wondered if that was true. And I'm just like, um, probably not. It's just not asking any of the questions that come to mind when I hear something like that because it's none of my business. They've already decided what they're doing, and I'm like, it's not very easy to do that for one, but you know, congratulations if you have, which I didn't say. And yeah, I'm gonna sneeze. Hold on a second. Woo! Oh, and I sneezed in the direction of the microphone instead of the other way. Sorry, didn't mean to blow everyone's eardrums. Um, and basically said most witches don't believe in Satan, So I'm not sure why they would care if you made a pact with Lucifer, because I'm thinking that's probably the kind of Lucifer he was talking about, or he or she. And then, you know, there's consequences and karma. Why would we bother? And we believe in free will. So SL said, yikes. Carlos says,
Well, it's
bless you. Thank
also
you.
the aspect of stupidity there. You step off a cliff without a parachute, you're going to land at the bottom no matter how much you yell at somebody to save you.
Yeah, this is true. But at least it wasn't, somebody saying you're worshiping the wrong people and you need to, like, sign up for Jesus duty. I didn't get any of those this week. So, yeah. I think one of the bizarrest things I ever had, someone contacted me and wanted me to help him to become a werewolf. This was years before the channel, actually. This was just when I was on Witch Fox, and this guy contacted me and wanted to learn how to worship the Queen of the Night or the Queen of all Darkness or something like that, and to turn him into a werewolf. And I'm like, well, the only suggestion I can think of is to find a werewolf and have them bite you, because I really have no clue how you would become a werewolf. And I'm thinking, and why? It's not like in the movies, I'm pretty sure. Nothing else is. But yeah, Beth said, so true, Ian. And Essel says, that's hilarious. Oh my God. Yes. I mean, yeah, it's like, good luck. Never did hear back. So as far as I know, he either succeeded or didn't. And it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. Ella 13 says, just goes to show the lack of knowledge they have about witchcraft. Yeah, there's that too. That means they're watching too many vampire werewolf movies. I think that the character he was going after was actually in one of the, I think that was in um, the Shadow, the one about the Shadow Realm or whatever. Was
Oh,
it?
right. Yeah.
That's the character, the Queen of the Night or whatever, who was supposed to be this. Yeah, I, I think that's what he was designing it from, and they had werewolves and vampires and
Yeah, I can't think of the name of
hunters,
that show.
shadow hunters. That's what
Shadow
it was,
Hunters,
shadow
yeah.
hunters. Yeah, it was a fun TV show and a fun movie, but
Nothing realistic about it.
again, not real. I think the most realistic witch movie I ever saw, really, or witch show, was really well, one of them anyway, was the British version of that. I'm having trouble with the names of all these things. That one's on Netflix right now too, and that one was fun. I really liked how they dealt with magic and stuff in that one. Yeah. Anyway, too many TV shows. Dark Shadows? No, not Dark Shadows.
No, but that
Nothing.
was a great
That was a
movie.
fun movie.
Watch Alice Cooper give a great performance in that in the movie. Yeah,
That was the
he's a
redone
kick.
one.
Yeah,
Yep, he was pretty good.
always like Alice Cooper. He's so gothic and all this stuff.
And so not really, in except in his regular persona.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know why he called himself Alice, and it was because he had a reading about a past life where he was burned as a witch or hung as a witch, and the witch's name was Alice Cooper, so he named himself after his past life. Thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, somebody told him that it was giving him a reading. Told him he had a past life as an Alice Cooper.
Yep. Carlos says, "Oh my God, Johnny Depp saying about the ugly woman." Yeah, that one was a fun one, but no, it was Shadowhunters. And Carlos says that was a good movie. I watched the original when I was a kid, the serial Shadow, Dark Shadows, and I thought Barnabas was just wonderful. I think I was 12. He was my guy. He's not that good looking, really. And I saw some of the old clips, and I'm like, really? I thought he was sexy. Oh my God, I didn't have anyone to choose from. Basil says, cool, that's awesome. I thought that was his name. Well, it is now. Carla says Alice is a preacher's kid, if I remember correctly.
Uh, it could be. I don't know that, but his music would indicate that. Some of the lyrics of a lot of his songs, like "No More Mr. Nice Guy," that Reverend Smithy punched him in the face. So
Yeah. A lot of people had preacher dads.
yeah,
Seems to be going
I had a
around.
preacher grandfather, not a dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Life. Life is interesting to say the least. I think Crowley's father was a preacher.
Oh yeah. It was his mother was well, and his father. Yeah, they were both. Uh,
Very religious, Christian religious.
yeah, I think they were called the Plymouth Brethren was the group they were affiliated with, and that's where Crowley got a lot of his dislike of
All things Christian.
extreme dislike of Christianity and such was all the that type of abuse he was put through as a kid.
Carlos says, I can't remember for sure. Jen says, ooh, that's cool. I never knew that about Alice Cooper. It's just funny though, because, that's like the role of the teenager is to be the opposite of the parent.
Yep.
And here's people took it to an extreme.
Yep.
Not everyone goes quite as extreme as that. And then a lot of them turn back into their parents later. It's weird. It's like, have your own path. Just stop trying to either fight their path and make your path the opposite of their path, which is not really choosing a path. And, choose your own path. It's like would be better. But, it's hard. Teresa says, I wonder if his snake was traumatized by being on stage. I don't know that snakes actually. I've seen dancers, belly dancers with snakes, and um, I'm not sure if they actually get traumatized by the experience or not. I saw one belly dancer who was not dancing well with her snake. She wasn't going at the snake's pace. As a belly dancer, she was doing too much quick stuff, and the snake couldn't keep up. And the snake was definitely like, yeah, like what is going on? And a really good snake dancer is going to go at the snake's pace and turns it into something completely different. It's not your standard belly dance, but yeah, I don't know. They may not like all the sound and the vibration and stuff like that, but they don't see very well, so they might not feel threatened and never thought about how the snake would feel. Carlos says, rebel at heart he was. Now he coughs. Oh, he does? Oh, so sad.
Well, there's not that this is the Alice Cooper channel all of a sudden, but one of the stories I liked, I watched an interview with his daughter one time, and she had, I guess she must have been like 17 or 18 or something, and she hadn't been paying attention to her dad's performances. It was just her dad, you know. And then all of a sudden she decided she wanted to go with one on one of his shows and wanted to be part of the production. So she said she got a really different view of her dad when she was on the floor of the stage in a flimsy negligee. He was standing over her with his leather outfit and snapping a whip above her head as he's doing his goth stuff on stage. And so that was, she said it gave her a totally different view of a guy who just would come home and be dad, and she never paid any attention to any of that stuff. And I guess it never came out at home until she got on stage with him. And if you watch any of his performances, they're very theatric.
Carlos says, yes, he does. He does golf.
Yeah.
Teresa says, the ladies at the library got me to catch a snake that got in there. It definitely felt it was scared. Yep, Beth is laughing. It's like all the things, the visions we have of our parents and who they are. I shocked my daughter all the time. She was not very fond of me. And she would do that passive aggressive kind of a stuff. I'd get ready to go somewhere. And she's, you're going to wear that? Really? I go like, uh-huh. I'm old enough to know how to dress myself. And I am going to wear this. Yes. She was quite flummoxed. Now they just kind of accept it because there's really nothing they can do about it anymore. Every so often, I still catch her rolling her eyes, but mostly it's fine. Everyone is laughing. This kiddo. And my son went, and when I was nursing my daughter, they were only 3 years apart, and she was very, very young. I mean, she was still only a few months old at this point, and we were staying at this. We were at this house. I guess this was actually after Rick's father died. Anyway, um, my son went out to play, and there was a group of construction workers at the church next door, and they found a ball of garter snakes. And so they taught my son how to pick up a garter snake. So he was very excited by this, and he comes waltzing into the bedroom where I'm nursing, and he has his chubby little fist up in the air over his head, and the snake is so long it's down on the floor, and like this much of the floor. It's like, because it was bigger than him, and showing me the snake that he got. And I'm looking at this situation. I'm thinking this would not go well if he drops this snake. So I'm staying very calm because I don't want to have to try and like catch a snake. I said, well, very, very nice. I think that's wonderful. Can you please take it back outside and put it where it belongs because it's missing its friends? So he did. And he went outside and put the snake back. And then I was very angry at the construction crew for teaching my son to do that.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't know the difference between a deadly snake or one that's not at that age, you know?
Yeah, I knew it wasn't poisonous or
I
anything, so.
know, but
But still,
you teach a
yes.
kid that, and then he feels friendly picking up a copperhead or something. I don't know what was down there where you lived,
No,
but
I was in Saskatchewan at the time, so they don't have any real poisonous snakes up there,
okay.
so. I don't even think there were rattlesnakes anywhere. They had them in British Columbia, but not in Saskatchewan. But yes. Beth says, yes, my oldest daughter did that. Jen says, that's good advice. I'm believing more and more that my path is to be a hermit. SL says, oh no. Violet says, I'm such a quiet group member, but I have been here enjoying every minute. As always, you two are amazing. See you
Well, thank
soon,
you for
and
saying
I'll be
hello.
here to the end. Thank you, Violet. And everyone says, hi, Violet, for those who didn't know she was already here. Because she came in the beginning and then just stayed quiet. Teresa says, I live close to the famous Narcisse snake den. Scientists from all over the world come to study the snakes. It's open to the public, too. Lovely. I'm so happy for you. And Jen says, hi, Violet. But yeah. And Violet says, hi. Hi, everybody. So yeah, I mean, it's always interesting because, that's part of life is encountering these things. And that's, nature. It's like a lot of people don't encounter nature and they don't know anything about it. So it's always good to be open minded and question things. I think when I was a kid, there were snakes, garter snakes around. Garter snakes are pretty fast though when they're just out in the
They
wild.
can be, yeah. You just zip right along.
Unless it's cold out, they're pretty fast because the smaller they
Yeah.
are, the faster they are, the
Used
faster
to
they
be a
move.
lot. I used to live up in the Rouge area, and there used to be a lot of them up there.
Carla says, Jen, I really resonated with Schieffer's meme. I really generally feel like biting everyone. I liked that meme. Someone else had shared it, and I thought, yep, I could get behind that. And Beth says, hi, Violet. Jen says, laugh out loud, Carla. Teresa says, spring and fall snake migration. You'll see a lot of them crossing the roads. Got to be careful not to squish them. Yeah, you don't want to squish them. I saw this really amazing video of a young seal pup, a white seal pup, that was caught in a piece of netting and had been in there for quite a while because it had barnacles growing on it. And it came up to these people in a boat, and they took it up on the boat, and they well, first they cut away the netting, and then they brought it up on the boat, and then they scraped off all of the barnacles and everything and washed the thing clean, and its friends were out there watching and waiting to see what was going to happen, and then they let it go and it joined its friends. And I like videos like that because it tells me that there are still some good, genuine, and kind people in the world who are paying attention to their environment and care about what's happening to an animal. Just because it's an animal doesn't mean we shouldn't care. And I've seen lots of videos of like owls being freed from nets and and things like that, and other kinds of things. It's just like sometimes there's just people that are there, they're in the right place at the right time, and they just step up to the plate and help an animal in need instead of just like going by and not caring. So SL says, I think snakes are so cool, but they scare me sometimes. I wouldn't want poisonous ones. Carlos laughing at Shifra and Jen. And Violet says, oops, no heart. She's trying to make a heart. Aw, poor seal. And Violet says, got a heart now. Got a purple heart. Yay for purple. My favorite color. Yeah. Uh, it's like, it's about being alive and interacting and being in the world with everything else and not being isolated and alone and just people oriented. So, yay for that. I like those kind of conversations. Carla says, oh, yes, we're avid helpers of turtles crossing the road. Yeah. It's like, I like the fact that some places have actually created pathways for animal migration over highways so that they don't have to worry about them getting run over. And I still can't believe there was that crazy woman. I think it turned out to be a joke, but apparently not everyone knew it was a joke. And I certainly didn't know it was a joke until later. This woman called into a radio station and was complaining about the fact that they were putting up do not cross or deer crossing signs on the road and wanted to know why they were letting the deer cross there because they were a hazard. And the weirdest thing was I was telling someone about it. She says, yes, that's really stupid. Why do they do that? And I just went, no. Ah, morons abound. This is not okay. And says, animals are so amazing. Yes, they are. I was glad it turned out to be a joke, but then, like I said, people didn't know it.
Well, but then, by the same light, there are a lot of things that I thought people were joking about that they weren't. Like there are really flat earthers out there who are really serious about believing the earth is flat despite all the science. And it's like, I couldn't believe that. I went around thinking I thought it was funny. I thought they were just doing it as a joke.
Yep.
But no, they mean it.
Yep. Carlos says, I like that too. Hoping Pod does more of that. I'm dying because I remember that story about the deer crossing signs. Yeah. SO says, that's their home. We just put rows there. Yep, we do. They're going to do one in Oregon, I think. They have a planned migration crossing thing over a major highway, like over I-5 or something that's in the works. But who knows if that'll happen now.
Right.
Anything's possible, but you never know. SL says, that's crazy, Ian. And Alice says, there's no helping flat earthers. Well, yeah, I agree. I was like, there's eclipses. Yeah. What do they think? Oh, here, and Carla says, what do they think an eclipse would look like with a flat earth? A line? Yes. That's what they should look like.
I honestly don't know.
They have some
was
reason they explain with like optic distortions or
stuff. Yeah.
stuff or whatever, or it's the Matrix or something. I don't know. Alice says they come up with anything to counter logic. Yes. And like the guy who actually went to the Antarctic and proved to himself that the Earth wasn't flat, he was pretty sure he was going to prove that the world was flat because he couldn't find the wall that they were expecting in the Antarctic, and he told everybody about it, so no one believed him because they didn't want to let go of the idea. I'm like, yeah, we're too tight with our belief systems sometimes. Carla says they're nutters. Well, of all the things to believe in, that's probably the least dangerous, I think, of some of the stuff that's out there, but still.
What, you mean the flat Earth stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean,
And like the guy who decided to launch himself into a rocket off
and
the
blew
face of
himself
the Earth
up,
to prove it was flat Earth and built his own rocket
and then he killed himself. So I guess that wasn't safe for him. But I don't know. Why would they think the Earth is different?
Take some seriousness about it to be that crazy, though.
And they see the full moon, right? Yeah, I've seen some memes where they have all the other planets round and then they have the Earth flat and they go like, uh-oh. We're just different. And Carla says, truth right there. Yep. Anyway, we're coming to the end of our show. It's a good way to end it, though. I'm talking about funny, silly things and laughing. So I guess we have to go. And I look forward to seeing emails from whoever wants to see the classes. And Jen says, laugh out loud. Yep. And and we'll get the video on the explanation of the words and the imagery and so forth, and how to do the movements and whatnot for the Amethyst Crystal Web for those of you who want to do it that way. Any way you do it is fine by me as far as it goes, but that way you'll know what's coming. And Teresa says, see you on the web. Violet says, bye. Jen says, have a wonderful week. Carla says, much love, Shifra and love you all. Alice says, have a great day, everyone. Blessed be. Beth says, great live. Blessed be loves. Ian says, thanks for making this a wonderful chat as usual. Violet says, peace. And Gabriel says, hello and bye.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. All right. Missed it. Well, you can watch it on replay. Sorry. It happens. Have a great week. All right, everybody. Please send positive vibes. The special elections on Tuesday, April 1st. All right, we'll do. Gabrielle says, yay! Fairies and hearts.